Hey folks, welcome to another exciting episode of Long Shots. Hey Sharad, how's it going, man?
It's going very well. I'm really looking forward, as I always do. There is no surprise there for today's chat.
We have an at-scale YouTuber with us today.
Yeah, it's first for us, so that will be very exciting.
Yeah, and I hope he gets excited by our conversation as well.
Yeah, that's
again only time will tell.
only
that's
time will
going to
tell
happen,
kind
right?
of a thing. Yeah.
Well, I would like to welcome Mr. Mukul Malik, founder of Asset Yogi. YouTube channel with over 1.4 million subscribers.
That's pretty lofty. Yes.
Welcome, Mukul. How's it going?
Hi, thanks for having me here. It's my first experience for a podcast.
Oh, great.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, if we add some value.
You're adding value on the YouTube channel. There should be the smaller fish. So
yeah, absolutely. No, Mukul, thanks for finding the time. And I mean, obviously, you are a person of fairly varied experiences, right? Just before we started talking, you mentioned that you were in the merchant navy for quite some time. Then you moved to the corporate side. You worked in L&T at Lanco, looked at infra there. Started a YouTube channel, I think focused initially more on real estate end of things, but then kind of diversified into more financial literacy oriented content. Tell us how it all started, like, what did you really sense was missing? I mean, there's so much content out there, right? I mean, how did this journey kick off?
See, the YouTube journey started in 2017, but the actual journey started, my entrepreneurial journey started in 2013. When I thought of leaving my job and adding some value, I thought that, real estate content or research was actually missing.
Right.
I had invested in a couple of properties and I became a victim of a couple of frauds also. Not many people know the story.
Yeah.
So that was the, start of the journey. So I wanted to share my experiences with people.
Right.
So, and how do you basically share? So at that time, blogging was the, go-to thing that anybody can start a blog. It's not very difficult to start a website.
Right.
So that's how I started, and I started writing about real estate. Of course, I used to invest in other things also, stocks, mutual funds.
Right.
So Asset Yogi, when you, recall the name, it's about all assets. I didn't want to, basically pinpoint only on real estate. Right from the start, it was there in the mind that we will diversify eventually.
Yeah,
like a shrewd entrepreneur, you made sure that the name is broad enough.
No, I mean there was no shrewdness. There was there was
sound tactics.
Basically, you get into something, you share some value, you add some value to people, and if you can add value in multiple things, why not? Right. So that was the premise, but that's not the end of it. Right. So that was the start of it. So started writing, but eventually, you get roadblocks also. So I did quite a bit of analysis, wrote many articles. Sometimes these big websites, I don't want to quote their names, they used to pick my articles and just copy them.
Yeah.
Right. And probably you would understand plagiarism is a big thing, right? And Google, yes, if the content is exactly copied, it will probably penalize. But if people have picked up the analysis and you just tweak the content, tweak the writing part of it, and publish on your website, and if you are a higher ranking website, you would take the advantage, right? So I was not getting the traffic, although the amount of effort that went into the writing was quite something.
This how long was this period where you were focusing mostly on writing?
This was from 2014 to 2017, almost 3 years.
Right.
And
So in 2013, when I left the job, I tried a different kind of model. Basically, I was getting into property management initially, but then I realized that we need to get into digital marketing. Otherwise, we will not get traffic. We will not get traction. So we have to embrace the technology. Right. So that was the first learning. Once I got into the website and got into the writing, then I realized that I can't do it alone. Either I should have SEO team and maybe multiple writers. I will not be able to do it alone.
Yeah.
But then in 2016 sometime, I realized that videos were picking up. Geo had come in 2015 end, and suddenly there was a big rush on YouTube. A lot of people had started creating content. I had tried a bit of content in 2014-15, but nobody was watching, right? If nobody is watching, then you lose your motivation. Right. So I was creating some kind of content in Hindi, but the traction was not there. Right. So it was a small experimentational channel. So we did some kind of experiments there. But eventually in 2016, I realized that now it's time.
Yeah.
So again, I did one more mistake. I recorded almost 50 videos and did not publish them.
Oh, okay.
Right? Yeah. So I thought, I kept experimenting, kept improving, but that was a big mistake. I should have gone and directly published all of them. Right. And then you actually understand and you actually evolve, because audience also tell.
You get market signal, right?
Yeah. So basically audience also will tell you exactly where you are making mistakes.
Yeah.
So in those 50 videos, I could only identify maybe few mistakes, right? So if I had published them earlier, I would have identified maybe more mistakes.
So from that time to now having over 1 million subs, do you see any like critical turning points, or was it just matter of persistent and just completely pushing out content and adding value, like you said?
There were a couple of turning points. One was switching the language.
Okay.
I was making the videos in English earlier.
Yeah.
And another turning point was basically identifying what audience actually wants, right? So initially I was publishing what I wanted to publish.
Yeah.
So I thought that this probably audience would want to know.
Yeah.
But basically market tells you everything.
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So in fact, I remember Steve Jobs telling sometime when he had launched iPhone, somebody had asked him, probably you are doing a lot of things which you actually want to do. So he said, yes, we have done a lot of things which we actually wanted to do, but eventually we listen to the audience.
Yeah.
Right. So in fact, in Apple also they have launched one laser printer back then in 70s, but probably audience did not want that.
Yeah.
Right. So if they have learned from their experiences, we should also.
Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of, doing content, doing it at a regular interval, it takes time, it takes resources.
Yes.
I mean, not just resources in terms of people, but also just like, your own kind of mental energy goes into it.
Yeah.
And we are going through the same cycle, albeit in a different format. But, there are days when you are just pushing out stuff which doesn't get traction. And then, slowly you see things kind of pick up. But I want to kind of look at it things from the perspective of your theme. The kind of thematic.
What kind of content we produce?
Yeah, I mean, when you were doing that, I'm sure there was a lot of iteration, right? You must be probably doing 20 different themes. Then you might have shortlisted a few. You might have seen, okay, this picks up better, this doesn't pick up that.
Right.
So how did you kind of evolve the overall channel?
Yeah. See, the content started with real estate, as I said earlier. So real estate, I mean, we did not want to do just real estate. So we said, whatever a layman wants to know about finance, we will do that. So everything that a layman should know about finance, we do that today also.
Right.
That is the core philosophy.
Right.
So let's say if somebody wants to do a business, he should understand basics of business. What is working capital, right? And a lot of people get stuck there.
Right.
I mean, what do you mean by private limited company? What is limited in that?
Right.
Why a partnership firm is unlimited? What is the difference? These small things people don't know. Right. So we said, whatever a layman should know, we will do all that stuff.
Right.
Be it startups, be it investments. Investments again, real estate, stocks, mutual funds, right? And what kind of rental agreements you should be making, what kind of clauses you should study properly if you are going through a transaction.
Right.
If you are purchasing a builder property, you should read a builder-buyer agreement carefully. What is RERA all about?
But this is all kind of driven mostly by your own profile, or you end up doing a lot of research about things which are new for you also?
Yeah, correct. Right. I mean, if I'm making a video on budget, that's not my profile.
Correct.
Yeah. So I end up making a lot of research basically.
Right.
So if a sovereign gold bond scheme is coming up, so I have to basically understand what it is all about. I have to study. Right. Yeah. It's not just about my past knowledge.
Right.
And how important is sort of gauging what topic is more important next, right? Do you go from a view of, what can get more traction in terms of what is trending, or is it more like you have a good curation philosophy yourself, that this is important, this is something that needs to be done, even if it's not very popular, but it's building a reputation and credible profile as well, right? So how do you go about balancing or picking up those topics?
It's a bit of both. see, if a trending topic is there, so we have to cover it because a lot of people expect us to do that. There will be a lot of comments who will say, yes, bank IPO is coming up, FPO is coming up. Why are you not covering that? Why are you not talking about sovereign bond scheme? So yes, we pick up a lot of stuff from there, right? But at the same time, if I have to talk about some concepts, let's say something about corporate finance, what is equity IRR, right? What is NPV? So people must know that. Otherwise, if there is no base, how will you understand what kind of returns you should expect from some kind of investment?
So you always have to make sure that there is some time neutral stuff.
Absolutely. We make two kinds of content. One is conceptual. So if people are not clear about the concepts, they will not understand. Right. So if suppose I'm making a video on let's say a gold bond, then people should be knowing a lot of things about other concepts also. So if somebody is asking questions about that, I can just post a link.
Which would inevitably your product anyway, your content anyway.
Correct.
So cross-linking it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And how are you looking at the Indian general financial literacy rate? Like Nikhil and I often talk about it, and we've ourselves gone into some business schools and engineering schools in India, talking about very basics of finance, right? Like equity analysis or DCF.
We did like offline talks.
Offline talks. We do a fair bit, and it's something that I also think was sort of missing in the Indian education system when you compare it to the Western. We do not emphasize so much on financial learning at a high school level, and channels like yours are obviously so important in such a setup, right? How do you rate like the general financial literacy, because it's a difficult problem and you're obviously trying to solve it. That's a key consideration, right?
Correct.
How do you view that landscape in terms of financial literacy in urban and rural India?
If we talk about financial literacy, I had read some statistics that it's less than 24% in India right now. So which basically means that it's not about smart finance decisions making. It actually means that people are not aware of inflation, that your money is actually losing value over time. So people don't know about the simple stuff also. And that rate also is just 24%, right? So there is a huge gap that I think if we can fill a bit of it also, that will be a big achievement for us. Yes, that was the motivation behind starting the channel also. But I'm not sure if Western countries also cover that in high school level. I'm not really sure, because I think even in Western countries people make a lot of mistakes when it comes to especially financial decisions.
Right. I mean, in terms of I think when we there's one point of also awareness, like base awareness, right? I mean, in terms of financialization, in terms of penetration, right? I mean, I think that's where the entire Western versus Indian mix comes into the picture, because I think I sometimes feel that only it was after demonetization where there was a general curiosity of looking at mutual funds or markets as a viable asset class in India, right? I mean, before that, like even in our parents' generation, people used to look at like gold, property. Right, I mean, especially people from typical service class background who doesn't have a lot of savings. They kind of think of when it comes to savings, when it comes to investment, they used to think of very tangible assets. Markets, that entire curiosity, I think I kind of came back in 2016-17. Maybe that's why I kind of am correlating that. But I felt that post demonetization, there was suddenly a bit more inclination to look at the markets as a viable asset class.
See, I mean, there are a couple of factors here. I think after 2003-04, markets actually, stock markets especially, they boomed. Right. So there were 2-3 cycles, of this boom. One was from 2003 to 2008. Right. So, and then people saw and people started hearing about the names of Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, Vijay Kedia, and see, you need these kind of names. So that's how you get motivated. So who actually made a lot of money. Right. So they were covered in media. Nobody had heard of Rakesh Jhunjhunwala before that. Right. And people heard about Rakesh the Money, Ramesh the Money. So they became faces. Right. And if you see on YouTube also, a lot of people, make videos about them also.
Their investment.
Their investments, their portfolio. You can replicate their portfolio. That's how people get, motivated. That was one aspect.
Right.
The other aspect was since mutual funds had started making some money, they could invest. So there was a huge wave of mutual funds se sahi hai.
Right.
Right. That was a big advertisement. Basically, it was a complete campaign.
Yeah.
Right. So that motivated a lot of people, I feel. So it's not just about demonetization. Yes, there was parts to it that people used to invest. I mean, there was a lot of cash initially.
Because RERA also kind of came around the same period, right? So
RERA came in 2017. That's correct. After the demonetization.
Yeah. Because I mean, I thought that because RERA also kind of put some sort of a temporary.
Yeah, absolutely. See, there was from 2003 to almost 2012, there was huge returns in real estate, right? So since people were not getting good returns after that in real estate, so people moved to stock markets and mutual funds.
Right.
And since people made some money there, so they got excited. They told their friends, family. So everybody gets excited.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, let's hope that if there is a bust cycle, people don't get demotivated.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a general trajectory as well, right? I mean, as
So the
capital
share
markets
is so low right now that demotivation won't actually play a role.
will not be a depressing factor. Yeah, but it's general trajectory, right, of capital markets becoming more and more robust. Like you go through this period where people are, getting more and more involved about it, and obviously there's so many other factors. Do you see what are the biggest challenges in terms of roadblocks for this wave to go through? Like you said, a bust here would probably demotivate people, but generally there's awareness of looking beyond gold and fixed assets, right? Looking at financial instruments, looking at financial engineering, structuring contracts. There is that level of awareness is picking up, right? Like generally, thematically.
I think a lot of people in India want to make quick money, and that is why they want to come to stock markets. That's I think that's not how you should be looking at stock markets.
Agreed. Yeah.
Right. So in fact, we have realized that a lot of people come on our channel also, and they keep asking, why do you not basically give stock tips? Right. And a lot of people just want to trade, either intraday trading. They want to make 10% per month. Right. So I think that's a big roadblock. Once they lose money, they will not come back. So that's I think a big challenge right now. So people should look at long-term investing. Unless they do, I think if they're not going to make good returns, they will probably not come back, and they will lose all their money. How will they come back?
But I mean, to be fair, I mean, that's also a symptom, right? As much as a problem, because I mean, long-term investing requires, at the end of the day, some sort of conviction in company fundamentals, in disclosures, in governance. What the company says is what you get. Like I recall, I looked at Yes Bank 2.5 years ago, and if you look at their annual report, the bank looked perfectly fine.
Absolutely.
Right, and then you realize that there was misreporting and there was, whatnot. And trading kind of is speculative to start with. So probably it's also a function of that, right? I mean, we often sometimes discuss that, when we look at information asymmetry or efficient market hypothesis.
Right.
I mean, in India, one can assume there's a fair amount of insider trading that goes on. Right. And there's a fair amount of lack of consequence for a lot of insider traders as well, which probably doesn't make value investing as attractive. I mean, there's a lot of narrative about Warren Buffett and Charles Munger.
Absolutely.
A lot of.
No, I understand where you're coming from. I understand. Probably, in fact, I remember Vijay Kedia said some time back that probably from long-term perspective, you can only invest in 15 companies in India. Right. So, and everybody knows about those 15 companies, so they become very expensive. But from a long-term perspective, probably that's how the markets developed in US also.
Sure.
I mean, if you talk about US, there was Lehman Brothers there also. If there was Yes Bank here. Right. I think we are in the process of evolution.
I mean, to be very fair, I mean, I think the recent, I would say last 4 to 5 years crackdown on NPAs, IBC, that would only improve long-term disclosure and governance norms.
Absolutely. I think, I mean, when there was Harshad Mehta scam, SEBI came in, right? SEBI, got functional.
Correct.
So, whenever there are these kind of mishaps, that's how we also learn, investors also learn, and the system and the government also learns. Right. So, I think from Yes Bank mishap also, again, there are going to be stringent norms. And yes, if somebody actually wants to do a fraud, there will always be scope.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, that's how. I mean, maybe we have to diversify.
Yeah.
We should not be putting all our eggs in one basket.
Yeah. And in terms of your content, I'm just moving towards your content strategy. How like there's a mix, like you were earlier saying, there's a mix of conceptual content and there's some more event driven sort of content.
Yes.
What other pillars do you are there any things that you pillars that you would like to add in terms of like e-learning kind of a mindset? And because your content is very educational, right? I've myself have I think I looked you up for REITs. I was trying to look at a real estate investment trust, and I think I looked up your video, and that was very helpful. I'm fluent in English and Hindi, so I got it. So what is the next? Like, do you think about or do you think YouTube first, content platform, educational, and that's a good monetization vehicle? How do you think about it from a business standpoint?
See, I mean, probably we would like to have our own app in future.
Okay.
So that's probably in 6 to 12 months. So probably we will add some structured course there. Maybe probably we'll explore a model portfolio for people, because a lot of people, ask us, do you have this kind of service? Because they don't have time to research.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right. So not everybody has. Of course, they will get time to get themselves educated, but they will not have time to research.
And that's the biggest, one of the biggest value adds that you're offering, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, if we have a research capability, probably we would like to offer to people. So that's one area we would like to basically get into. And maybe there are other platforms coming up, but there is one more platform coming up. It's called Graphy. So we'll be making one content there, one small course. It's a kind of video book, new concept.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll be doing something there. So we are exploring not just YouTube, other content platforms also. Yeah.
I mean, the idea is probably like with YouTube, obviously now you have a certain kind of a following.
Yeah.
You have built a certain amount of credibility.
Correct.
And now the idea would be to kind of also look at more product plays.
Absolutely.
To synergize with that, right? But I mean, like if you look at like life as a YouTuber, how is it? I mean,
busy.
So
Yes.
I mean, you must be like there's always because I mean, like I mean, there's always that premium subscription based versus ad supported.
Right.
But in YouTube, that answer gets that answer comes pretty quickly, right?
Right.
You took that conscious call. Right, and now on YouTube, I mean, with every additional 50,000 subscribers, the pressure to release content at regular intervals it only keeps on increasing, right?
Yes.
So how does your typical week pan out in terms of production wise? Like, I mean, because I want to understand how much work actually goes into like a 20-minute video.
See, it depends. Basically, if I am doing a very research-oriented video, I did a couple of videos on recession and past depression or past recessions.
Right.
So that took quite a bit of research. Right. So that takes about a week to 10 days. Right. Right from the content research to recording, production, editing, everything.
Right.
And publishing. So a week to 10 days.
Right.
At the max.
Right.
Minimum 1 day. Right. So if it's just a short video.
But you do like one video a week, correct?
Yes. Now because I am trying to get into other things also, so a fair bit of time goes there also.
Okay.
So right now it's 1 per week, but ideally we would like to do 2 per week. So that's the optimum kind of schedule for us.
And like and in terms of monetization, like you look at I think both branded insertions as well as
I mean
default YouTube monetization that comes, right?
In YouTube, you can't just depend on advertisements. It's almost nothing.
But is that an India problem? Like we keep on hearing that YouTubers in India, like the monetization is at a delta.
It's partly an Indian problem also because a lot of brands are getting used to digital marketing. Right. Yeah. So they have limited budgets on digital spends. So, but in US, I think digital spend has overtaken TV and everything else.
Yeah. Right.
So, of course, there is a difference there. Right. So, but I think that problem will be solved in coming 4 or 5 years. The other problem is, it's not a problem, I would say, but different niches. I mean, if it's a comedy or entertainment genre, they would get obviously more views. Right. So, they will probably get a lot of money from advertisements. Right. So, they can depend on advertisements, even in India. A lot of YouTubers, I understand that they make a lot of money just from YouTube. Right. So those are different genres. We are very niche specific, right?
Right.
And serious educational
but
stuff.
I meant in terms of like the rates that YouTube has.
In terms of rates that I have already talked about, I think, see, rates also depend on the demand, right? If,
Okay.
See, Google ad spend is all auction, right? So if you can bid bid higher for an ad,
Right.
so that's how your ad will be displayed.
Right.
So if there is going to be more demand, the ad spend, amount also will increase.
Right.
So basically, per click rate will increase over time.
Right.
So that probably will take some time, let's say 3 to 5 years.
So you look at mostly more native stuff.
Native as in?
Native as in like brand insertions within your content.
So basically,
itself, right?
So basically, one is the advertisement part. The other part is, that's how most of the YouTubers support themselves. That's the sponsorships or affiliates. Right. So you can have different kinds of deals per video basis or per click basis, or maybe if you convert something, so per conversion basis. So there are different kinds of models. So that's the primary revenue earning model for most of the YouTubers and most of the bloggers also. Right. And then the third thing can be, you can have your own product or service. Right. So I like clear tax.
Got it.
Got
it. And obviously now, I mean, you kind of when you were talking about your medium-term plans, I mean, things are now you're looking at things beyond YouTube, right? You have a website, you're thinking of app, you're thinking of also like looking at some sort of a educational content piece to come out. But I mean, if we kind of just take I mean, like there's a lot of financial content now which comes out in India also. Right? I mean, some of them might be your competition, some of them might also be in different niches which you just observe. Right? I mean, things are quite different from 2 to 3 years back. Like right now, if you Google a lot of the topics, you can find a lot of people are talking about, basic financial concepts. But something probably is still getting lost in translation. Or is it? Or do you think the ecosystem has developed fairly well over the last 2 to 3 years with videos kind of picking up?
Correct. But I think still there is a lot of scope, especially for in-depth content.
For in-depth, okay.
Yeah. So for, I think, and then there is a bit of creativity also.
Right.
Not everybody can simplify things which a layman can understand. Right. So it's one thing to become Warren Buffett. And it's another thing to explain what Warren Buffett does.
Different scale.
So that's where the creativity comes. And if somebody can do that, people will consume it. There is always going to be consumer for good content.
Because earlier like explainer style content was sort of reserved for the textual written base, but now with video, like there are explainer videos, everything, right? From explaining Middle East crisis to how oil trades to demonetization. So Nikhil and I, we sort of spend a fair bit of time also internally brainstorming as well, how to view explainer style content, and not necessarily explainer, but even like your point, deep dive analytical type of content. And it's fascinating because obviously medium is important. Some are good when you read, some are good like video, and we internally debate a lot on the role video will play. But I think I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's good for the entire ecosystem, right? You need multiple formats. You cannot rely on just one format. And we try to focus more on the other side, I guess.
But I mean, I do miss, like if you look at like a company like Vox, right? Like the kind of production values they have, plus like a mix of animated plus. I mean, I do still think that there's a lot of ground which can be covered for topics which have a more, I would say, Indian.
Absolutely.
Right. I mean,
see, I mean, Investopedia is such a old website. But if somebody can go vernacular, what is the problem? If somebody can write that content in Tamil, Tamilians will also understand that, right? So I think there is going to be a lot of demand for vernacular content, right? So that's one part, and the other part is that we can cover a lot of Indian examples. In Investopedia, if you read something, it's all they will talk about 401k. Probably nobody will understand here, right? So it's all American examples.
In Indian examples, you often end up going to Quora, which again, then you are kind of
Correct.
I'm not sure whether I should buy it.
Quality is a
believe
problem.
it
I
or
mean,
whatever,
yeah.
right?
So trust is a problem
Correct.
because you can't trust who is writing.
Right.
Right. But yes, if somebody can do the quality check, if
Right.
there is a brand behind it, then probably you will trust better.
I mean, it's, you started by writing and then you went into video.
Yeah.
And there's always that argument that attention spans are going down, people don't have time to read, hence video, hence more multimedia style content. But like for instance, we focus more on text.
Right.
And we obviously like to read, so we sometimes also, I think, fool ourselves by thinking everybody likes to read. Right. I mean, it is true for some people. It is not true for other people.
Absolutely.
Do you have any strong views on video versus text, like in terms of like just format, or do you think text has its own place? It has its own challenges, but it has its own place as well.
I mean, it's a debate between if you start debating about what is better, TV versus books.
Right.
Right. There is always going to be both.
Right.
I mean, right? Because some people like to read, some people like to watch. So I don't debate it anymore. I used to think that probably videos will take over, but I don't think that text is going to die.
Right.
It's going to remain, and there will always be readers. I also like to read a lot because sometimes if I'm watching a video, probably if I can read faster, I would try to save time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But otherwise, I will have to basically watch 30 minutes. If I can read faster, probably I'll try to cover that in 10 minutes.
Right.
Right. So it depends basically what kind of content is there. If it's very explanatory, maybe a video will help, wherein there are some kind of animations.
Yeah.
Right.
Not many people can imagine stuff.
Right.
Right. When you're reading, you have to imagine a lot of things.
Correct.
So not many people are good with that.
Right.
So I think there are going to be different kind of people, and there is going to be text and video. It's not or.
Okay.
It's video and text.
Okay. But does monetization play a role as well? Like for instance, like monetizing videos is probably a bit more straightforward activity than monetizing text-based content.
How? I don't think.
I mean, I don't know. Like for instance, like if you look at say paywalls, right? If you look at like subscription-oriented content.
Yeah.
I mean, I know personally like. One doesn't mind subscribing to a Wall Street Journal, but I think if you look at subscribing to a Business Standard, it was good till a Wall Street Journal was available at a subsidized rate as a bundle. I mean, like there is a different. I mean, in India now even subscription content is picking up, right? But
Yes.
subscribing for Netflix is different from subscribing for the Ken. There is a slightly different often one kind of thinks that people are ready to pay for a television or entertainment type of service, but are people ready to pay for a newspaper?
See, I think yes, you're right. As a content creator, it's a big roadblock and a challenge.
Right.
How do you monetize? Because there is a huge amount of effort that goes in creating a content, whether it is writing or whether it is video creation or even podcast, anything, any medium. And how do you monetize? Yes, I think we are evolving, right? If we can add value, right now, I think we have to add lot of value to get some money,
Okay.
right? But probably eventually we are going to be adding some value and getting some money, right? So right now, yes, I get it what you're saying. Basically, there is a bit of off track.
Right.
We have to add a lot of value to get some money.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just a hard to sell, and it's video. Seems like entertainment video content. People are willing to pay much more easily than.
No, I have subscribed to. I have paid subscriptions of a couple of basically platforms: ET Prime, Money Control Pro. So we have subscribed to quite a few.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think it will eventually. People will start paying for good stuff.
Yeah.
So right now, that's what I said. I mean, you are adding a lot of value. You are not getting that much amount.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as long as we can survive for that time, it should be fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, like coming back to, we'll kind of switch gears and get back to markets.
Yeah.
I mean, how what's your read been like so far?
That's been a question that we've explored with most of our guests who've come in, because they all have a finance business bent.
Right.
So
I mean, there are two lenses, right? One is there's a divide between rural versus urban. Like there's a lot of narrative that rural is picking up before urban, and it might take things forward. Even though I think recent commentary is kind of toning that down. And then second is obviously there's a clear disconnect between what's happening in the markets versus what's happening
in the economy,
at the
actually.
underlying economic level.
Correct.
What's your take on that? Like, I know you don't do stock picks, but like, do you have any
General
kind of trends?
view on trends. You read so much, you research so much.
See, I can talk about data.
Yeah.
Right. See, the data says that yes, stock markets are overvalued. So earnings have not picked up, and whereas stock markets have picked up. They have not just picked up. There is some kind of balloon, I would say. Nifty is trading at almost 30 PE.
Yeah.
Right, which is pretty high. It's in dangerous zone already.
Yeah.
So I mean, for me, anything more than 25 is in dangerous zone only.
Okay.
Right. So, and I mean, we can talk about different kinds of data also. What kind of industry growth we have. There are, I mean, moratorium is going to be a big problem right now.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
NPS will pick up, I guess.
Yeah. So I think that markets have overreacted already. So earnings are not supporting right now.
So cautious. Be cautious.
NPE
is the
is
thing.
probably driven by Reliance also
Yeah, I
to a
mean,
large extent.
Correct.
So much
That is
weight.
also true. I mean, just 5 stocks actually, I think, comprise almost 1/3 of Sensex
30%.
today.
Yeah, 30% of the index.
Just 5 stocks.
Yeah. So I mean, Reliance has obviously doubled in the last few months.
Absolutely.
So,
HDFC has gone crazy. Infosys. So just 5 stocks.
Right.
So cautiousness is the theme, which
But
is
like,
consistent.
is your like, not recommending a stock, but is yours like, you must be investing yourself also.
Correct.
You look at like, are you into that risk off mode? Let's look at companies with low leverage. Let's look at companies with lots of cash on their balance sheet and blue chip premium names.
High
Let's
ROE,
just buy
good
them.
track record.
Or you are also like open to look at like small caps, mid caps, offbeat opportunities.
See, for me, it's not about just brand name. Brand name, yes, matters, but not just blue chip stocks.
Yeah.
Fundamentals should be strong.
Right.
So, which means yes, low leverage, very low leverage.
Right.
Yeah, good balance sheet.
Right.
Right. Cash flows should be strong.
Right.
So all that matters.
Right.
But not necessarily a blue chip.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And have you been actively buying the dip, or
As they say.
See, as I said, I have invested a bit, but not a lot.
Right.
Yeah. So that's where I will stop.
right.
Being cautious is the theme, and it's consistent with a lot of folks as well, and our internal thought process as well. It's we obviously invested some as well, but it's we obviously see a clear disconnect as well.
Correct.
But will that disconnect break? It's a tough call to make, and when it will break, I guess. Timing the market is probably one of the hardest things that I've seen.
Absolutely.
Really? Well, no, I think in terms of markets, there's a cautious cap which has been. We can obviously discuss a bit of India's largest unicorn.
Yeah.
I mean, we call Reliance as India's largest unicorn.
First and largest.
But not all of our guests are ready to talk about it in a great amount of detail. I don't know. Have you looked at like Jio in some amount in terms of as a transaction, or as a story? Like, everybody's buying it, right? Every private equity house is kind of taking over.
See, there is quite a bit of story there. I understand, but I think markets have overreacted. See, for me, earnings are everything.
Right.
So unless that is supported by earnings,
So yeah, like oil and not much money has been made in oil and gas. So why are we jumping
absolutely,
around?
and even in Jio,
Right.
earnings are yet to be seen.
Right.
So yes, I mean, when there are strategic partners coming up, there is going to be synergies. That's understood. But of course, I mean, markets move in masses, right?
Right.
So whether it's going to be a boom cycle, again people will overreact.
Right.
If it's going to be bust cycle, again people will overreact.
Right.
Yeah. So basically, if it is supported by earnings, I will probably buy anything.
Right. No, that also says a lot, right? So
Yeah.
there is that conviction as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for the stuff that I don't get, I will look up Asset Yogi website and Asset Yogi channel and learn some concepts and help me make my decisions better.
Absolutely. No, thanks a lot, Mukul. This has been. I'm sure. I mean, we'll have more detailed conversations also going forward.
Yeah.
But it was great having you, and thanks for sharing about your journey.
No, it's
so
my
far.
pleasure to come here and talk to you guys. It's my first experience and a good one.
Oh, great.
But no, thanks for your time. Really appreciate
Validation
Right.
has been achieved.
Achieved. And good luck on your channel as well. Hopefully it continues
a
to
lot.
grow the way it has. And thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you. And that's about it for this one. This is Nikhil Arora
This is Sharad Tupran.
signing off.